Will now make our selection.
Wow, never seen this before.
The Washington Capitals are happy to pick Nicholas Backstrom.
Alexander Ovechkin is going to love having this guy.
From that very day back in the summer of '06, Caps fans have been wondering just how well Alex Ovechkin will mesh with Nicholas Backstrom. And Locker, what should we be looking for from Backstrom in his debut season?
Well, Joe, I think there's high expectations on Nick Backstrom. The fact that he was a 4th overall pick, he's a key guy. He's versatile. He can play wing or he can play center. His skating could be an issue early on in the season, but I think he's going to get up to speed. He has wonderful vision and great hands. Will be a factor on the wing or center for Hanlon's club this season.
It's obviously safe to say that Nicholas is the crown jewel of Washington's prospect list, but many people do believe the pipeline is filled with young talent, especially on the back end. And when we look at some of these future Capitals, if the goaltenders, and I know that they are extremely high on Michael Neuvirth, Semyon Varlamov is very, very athletic.
Joe, best in their respective countries. And for the D, Alsner and Finley, 2 big rigs that are going to be the future of the Caps back line.
I know you love the forwards, so up front, we're talking about some young kids there in Perreault and Bouchard who are a couple of seasons away. Steckel was a 30-goal guy in Hershey last year.
And I think Steckel can take the next step. If he gets into the corners, gets in the trenches, he can be a factor this year for the Caps. And Chris Thorpe, coming off an excellent season, 25 goals in the American Hockey League. He's a dark horse, but he may get some games this year with the Caps.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The emphasis is definitely on this season and making a return push to the playoffs. Ole Kolzig confirms that is at the forefront of everyone's mind.
Our goal ultimately here is to bring a championship to Washington, and we can talk about making the playoffs, but I think at some point we got to talk about trying to win the Stanley Cup, and really that's the ultimate goal, and the only way you can do that is by making the playoffs. So the guys in the dressing room all know it, and that's our goal. Anything less is a disappointment.
So, if you want to keep Godzilla happy, then get into the postseason. We are pleased to welcome a Caps beat reporter from the Washington Post. Tarik El-Bashir joins us. And Tarik, from a general point of view, what were the competitions like during training camp?
Been very intense. I've covered the past 3 seasons for the Capitals, and the question the previous 2 years was, are they going to have enough skilled players to actually put together a decent team? This year it's been the complete opposite. I mean, they have NHL guys with NHL talent who aren't going to make this team and are going to end up in Hershey or traded. It's been a completely different atmosphere. The competition was really fierce.
And Tarik, big-time offseason acquisitions, obviously Nylander, Kozlov, Backstrom, Pody, guys like that.
Yep.
Who's going to have the biggest impact for this hockey team this season?
I think Michael Nylander is going to have the biggest impact. One thing that I found pretty interesting through training camp is that he played with Nicholas Backstrom on the right and Alexander Semin on the left. I guess after he was acquired, everyone expected him to start skating with Ovechkin right away, and he hasn't. He's been with Semin. That actually could be the Capitals' most effective line.
I'm sure there is one issue, maybe you could say 2 issues that are going to be on the minds of Caps fans and General Manager George McPhee throughout the campaign. And Tarik, that includes the contract status of Alex Ovechkin and Alex Semin. And Semin may turn out to be an even more interesting endeavor.
The Capitals certainly don't have a great relationship with Simmons' agent, Mark Gandler. But at the same time, I expect Ovechkin's contract to take precedent here. I mean, that's the guy they want to get locked up early on. Right now, there's been some low-level talks, but there have not been any formal proposals traded. And you got to remember, Ovechkin doesn't have an agent right now. His business is being handled by his parents, and that's never a great situation. Remember the Lindrosses and Carl Lindros handling Eric's situation. It never works out. Hopefully he'll get an agent and they'll get this resolved before training camp is over, because you don't want this hanging over your head going into December and then January.
And Tarik, one of the best nicknames on the Caps hockey team, Flash they call him, Thomas Fleischman. Is he going to have an opportunity in the top 6 forwards?
He was told last year, look, we're not going to give you a contract. We're going to bring you over to camp. We're going to insure you. And if you prove that you deserve one of these top 6 spots, you'll get one. And they gave him every opportunity, and so far he's looked pretty good. He's a small guy. He's a guy who kind of gets thumped off the puck by defensemen. That's the one concern about him. He doesn't have a whole lot of upper body and lower body strength. but he's got all the skill in the world. I mean, you watch him dangle the puck, he's pretty amazing, and he's got some really nice passing ability too. But he's going to get that shot. I mean, I would say by December, January, if things aren't working out, the Caps may find themselves in a bind.
Tarik, in the brief time left that we have with you, we have to keep you on the hot seat. Eastern Conference assessment, do the Caps make the postseason this year?
You know, people ask me that all the time, and I've said the Capitals are going to finish somewhere between 6th and 10th. You know, I do think they have the ability to make the playoff this year. They have the talent. The question is, can they stay healthy? The big question is Ole Kolzig's play. You know, he's 37 years old, and you know, if his play, if there's a drop off in his play, the Capitals could be in trouble because Brent Johnson, as we all saw last year, struggled as a backup goaltender.
Get your suitcase packed, young man. You're going to be busy traveling with the Caps this season. We look forward to it.
I'm ready.
That is Tarik El-Bashir of the Washington Post. Stay right there. We're going to have 3 keys from Mr. Lachlan. We'll get him in a key sort of mood right away. When you return, we have more Cap Speak on Comcast Sports Net. We are going to be very busy over the next 6 months and hopefully well into spring. Sportsnet thrilled to cover 74 Caps games from cover to cover, beginning with the season opener and the home opener October 5 and 6. Craig Lachlan, Al Koken, Joe Ricci, Lisa Hillary, they'll all be keeping tabs with me on DC's progress as the winter rolls right along on ice on Comcast Sportsnet. Joe Beninati, Craig Lachlan with you. Tail end of Cap Speak. And Locker, I have to ask you about the defense corps. Does this group have the potential to put some points up on the board? Can they be more offensive?
Well, I think there's a couple of guys we have to focus on, Joe, and that's Brian Pothier at 28 points last year. You'd like to see that escalate close to 40. And Pody, who was signed from the Islanders in the offseason, he had 44 points last year. These two guys have to be the catalysts on the blue line.
I know you love the keys. I know you love working through the keys. So we should get, we should get you jingling your car keys and jingling the keys to the Cap season. Take your time. Itemize them 3 down to 1. What's going to be the secret to success this year?
Well, number one, it starts between the pipes, between Brent Johnson and Ole Kolzig. I call it tender moments, and I think it's important. Ole Kolzig, the last 3 years, Joe, 19, 20, and 22. The previous 3, he averaged 34 wins. The average playoff goaltender last year, who was number 1 on their roster, 35 wins. He's got to get above 30 for the Caps to have success. Middle management, I think up the middle, they had 40 goals combined among 8 different guys. The addition of Kozlov, the addition of Nylander will have more puck pursuit, more puck pressure coming out of the zone, and better breakouts because of their centers. But number one, you've got to punish with power. Their power play was anemic. If the power play picks it up 3 points, they go from 16.4 to over 18, Joe. They're playoff bound. They have to have some tic-tac-toes like this, and they have to get generating offense from everybody.
And Locker, in the first month of the season, there's going to be plenty of time for practice.
Coach's dream, players' nightmare, unfortunately. But for Hanlon and the boys, it's going to be a good time. Number one, conditioning. Number two, most importantly, the systems they want to try to execute this year. In the years past, they've never had time to work on that.
It all gets cranked up for real on Friday, October 5, and we can't wait to do the talking. For Craig Lachlan, for all of our special guests, I'm Joe Beninati. Cap Speak has spoken, and we'll talk to you from Atlanta.